Hello, good morning, beautiful people of Ibadan. Welcome to Daybreak Live on Dominion Television, your channel of choice, where inspiration meets entertainment. Samson Balogun is my name.
All right, good morning. My name is Abby Dickinson. Welcome. It's another Monday. It's not just Monday, it's Easter Monday. And I'm here with joy, hoping for a beautiful Monday.
Absolutely.
And the weekend was so interesting. It was a long weekend of celebration.
Yeah,
well, I think it started on a sad note. That is
the crucifixion.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, it actually started with Thursday. Thursdays usually are the days that they set aside for Jesus washing the feet of his disciples. Then Friday is the crucifixion. Yes, the Good Friday. But somebody said one time, it's Good Friday. I think on the program, say it's Good Friday, but it's a bad Friday for Jesus. Well, and I laughed.
You know, there are two different things. I think what it means to us is different to what it actually meant to Jesus at the time. You know, it's actually not easy to sacrifice yourself for a thing like that. But then, even as human beings, at the time you feel like, oh, it's kind of different, but then it is time for reflection, it is time for celebration. The two things they come,
whatever happened had to happen. I mean, if you check it out from the records, even from the different books, you know, he had this feeling that something was going to happen. You know, if you read the book, it would say he told his disciples, you know, stay with me for a while, just like an hour before, let me go and pray. And by the time he went, he had this feeling, and he kept saying, Father, take away this cup from me. But again, the second time he said, take away this cup from me, but if it's thy will, let thy will be done. He came back again, the disciples are slept. And that tells you that when it comes to nature, sometimes
you can cheat.
You can't at all. He did this 3 times, and he knew. He had this feeling, he had to surrender. And it's so funny. Is it funny, or that's what we face in real life? The people who you think have your back, they don't have it. They
don't have it. Actually, it's a lesson of life.
It is.
And, you know, for everything that happens, you must always draw the positives from it, and of course, learn one lesson or the other. And that particular part which you talked about tells us that most of the times, all you have to do is to believe in yourself. Trust that you are the only one who actually, you know, have your own back. You know, relying on someone who might not be there for you when you actually need them. I'm not saying the idea is not to tell you that nobody has your back. No, but the point is, always learn that you are always the first person that has your own back. So believing in yourself, that actually helps you improve as a person, pushes you to do greater things in life, because you are your first critique, and you are only your first point of call. So it means that at every point in time, it will be just you first before someone else comes on board.
I mean, if Jesus could be betrayed, who are you not to be betrayed? Yeah, you know, when this is a time for really reflecting and seeing, now, wow.
Well, I think there are two different things. Time for sober reflection, time for, you know, for us to actually feel happy that that was done. Because it wasn't just, you know, an exchange. It was a divine exchange.
A divine exchange,
you know,
that had to happen.
He bore our sins and then gave us the gift of grace, which we all are, you know, enjoying as we speak.
Now, if you talk about the teachings of this crucifixion, you know, okay, let me look at it from the point, you know, the crucifixion came in when, you know, we had the trial and condemnation time when Jesus was arrested, you know, and tried by the Sanhedrin before he was sentenced to be killed or sentenced to death by Pontius Pilate. We also remember the scourging part, you know. Yeah, he was scourged. That involved him being whipped. And he was made to carry the cross. Cross, they will use it to nail you. You have to carry it, you see, carry your own. Then we went to the crucifixion part where he was killed. He was buried. I remember he was also crucified on the cross in between two thieves. Okay, then the burial. And of course, the resurrection. That is what we are celebrating today. Thanking God for life. Thanking God for what he has done. I mean, that's victory over...
Victory at last. You know, it also tells you that we should not give literary meanings, you know, ordinary meanings to what actually happened in the last few days. It means that for everything that happened in the last few days, there is a meaning beyond the surface, which we have to discern as humans. It is quite important that is done. And most importantly, you have to understand the fact that you as a person, there are so many things you have to do to get to where you are going. And that includes you being able to understand life beyond what you see, life beyond the surface, and life beyond what humans do to humans. So basically, this is a time for us to reflect, it's a time for us to celebrate, and above all, it is time for us to discern the fruit of the Spirit.
Like some of the lessons I will take from the crucifixion, you know, talking about the cross, it teaches that God's mercy is unrelentingly, you know, God is unrelentingly merciful. You know, that's one thing. I took another one, I say, wow, God doesn't treat sinners with disdain or disgust. You know, he's there with generous and tender love. And not to talk of, he doesn't want you to just come, you know, clean up yourself. He says, come to me, come as you are. Yes, you are not free. Nobody is saying, oh, you must be clean. You know, I liken it to, you know, we're going to church now. We all want to look good. We all want to look special. But God looks beyond that. He looks at the inward. You know, you can appear so beautiful and all that. Or what is inside of you?
Yeah, that tells you that as humans, you can be judgmental.
You shouldn't be.
Looking at people thinking, you know, this person is not clean, the other person has this character or the other. It is not your place to judge. It is God's actually. And then it tells you that even God knows that we can't be 100% at one point or the other, meaning that it is only when you are with Him that you become whole. So that is the message you have to, you know, deduce from all that. And most importantly, you also have to understand that life is beyond what we see. As we said earlier, it is beyond what we see. And then you have to leave other people to do. It's not a crime to call people's attention to things they are doing that you feel, well, I think if you do it this way, it will be better. But then you are not in the position to judge anyone.
I mean, salvation is personal.
It's personal.
It's personal. And we are all running our different individual races. And today is Easter Monday. We refer to it as the time that, you know, Christ rose up and he appeared in Galilee. You know, he said it. He said,
the experience while growing up, going to Galilee, it's one thing that will stay with everyone for life, because it's an experience that you relive in your head time and time again. The childhood when, you know, on a morning like that, and then every member of the family, I think that also preaches love, because then every family goes to Galilee with something, and then you get to share amongst you know, the church members.
And you know, just after the program today, I am going for a love feast. I was invited on a Galilee day like that, so I'm going to be enjoying myself. Okay. With love. But you can tag along if you want.
No problem. We'll talk about that after the show.
All right.
Okay. The show is still Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. Don't forget you can watch us live on our website at dominion.org.ng. You can also do that on our YouTube channel at Dominion Broadcast. And then you can link up with us on all social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Like, subscribe, and follow. It is at Dominion Broadcast. And then you can do that on X at Dominion Cast. We'll go on a short commercial break, and when we return, Daybreak Live continues on Dominion Television, and of course we'll be linking up with our news desk as Uzoms Okechukwu is waiting for Daybreak Live news.
Good morning. This is Daybreak News on Dominion Television. My name is Uzoms Okechukwu. Vice President Kashim Shettima is set to visit Plateau State today following a wave of attacks and killings by gunmen in the Bokos and Bassa communities, which have claimed many lives over the past 2 weeks. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Dr. Netawa Yewada, disclosed this during a visit by the Minister of Defense, Mohammed Badaru, to the affected communities. During the visit, the Vice President will convene a stakeholders meeting to discuss strategies for enhancing security and promoting peace in the state. A fire outbreak occurred yesterday afternoon at Bagi Market, causing damage to 2 shops before emergency response teams swiftly moved in to bring the situation under control. According to a statement from the General Manager of Oyo State Fire Services, Akinyemi Akinyinka, the distress calls were received from officers at the Bagi station, the divisional police officer of the station, and several market leaders. The cause of the fire remains unknown as investigations are ongoing. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Meteorological Agency has predicted a thundery weather outlook across the country from Sunday to Tuesday. According to the agency, partly cloudy skies are anticipated over the north-central region in the morning hours. In the afternoon and evening hours, localized thunderstorms are expected over parts of Ondo, Oyo, Edo, Imo, Abia, Anambra, Lagos, Bayelsa, Cross River, Akwa Ibom, Rivers, and Delta states. NIMET advised people to stay in well-ventilated and cool spaces and drink plenty of water as temperatures may be high in many parts of the country, increasing the risk of heat stress. The West African Examinations Council has revoked the licenses of 574 secondary schools in Nigeria. This was disclosed by the head of WAEC's national office, Dr. Amos Dangote, during a press briefing at the headquarters of the examination body in Lagos. WAEC announced that the affected schools were found to have committed examination malpractices. The examination body also stated that the schools will not be allowed to conduct examinations even as the 2025 West African Senior School Certificate Examination, which will begin from Thursday, 24th April. Benue State Governor Hyacinth Alia has called for the support of the federal government towards ending the killings by suspected armed herdsmen in the state. The governor expressed deep sadness over the recent coordinated attacks on communities in Ukom and Logo local government areas when he visited the affected communities for on-the-spot assessment. Recall that suspected armed herders killed over 56 people and wounded several others in different communities in Ukom and Logo last week. He expressed shock over the large number of people killed, noting that the attacks were calculated, planned and targeted at selected communities, and called on the federal government to come to Benue's aid. In business, the Securities and Exchange Commission has issued a stern warning to celebrities, social media influencers, and bloggers over the promotion of unregistered and fraudulent investment schemes. In a statement issued yesterday, the Commission disclosed that it is collaborating with law enforcement agencies such as the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the Nigerian Police Force, and other relevant government institutions to investigate and prosecute individuals and platforms involved in unlawful investment promotions. The Commission has also reminded the public that the recently signed Investments and Securities Act, ISA 2025, prescribes stiff penalties for violations, including jail terms and heavy fines. Talking sports, the Nigeria Football Federation has cleared Nasarawa United of any wrongdoing in the players fielded for the round of 16 clash against Bayelsa United. The NFF responded to the protest by the Prosperity Boys in a letter signed by the Director of Competition, Ruth David. Bayelsa United accused Nasarawa United of fielding 5 ineligible players in the encounter. The letter stated that the players were duly registered and issued licenses to participate in the competition. You can visit our website on www.dominion.org.ng to listen to us live and interact with us. You can also follow us across our social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and LinkedIn at Dominion Broadcast and X at Dominion Cast. That ends Daybreak News. I am Uzams Okechukwu. Back to Samson and Erby.
All right, welcome back from that short break. The show is still Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. Don't forget, you can watch us live on our website at dominion.org.ng. You can also do that on our YouTube channel at Dominion Broadcast. And of course, link up with us on all social media platforms Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at Dominion Broadcast, and on X at Dominion Cast. All right, we are straight to our newspaper review segment on the show this morning, and of course, we will be starting with the Guardian newspaper. And the first story here, the major headline on the Guardian newspaper this morning says, despair in Benue, Plateau State, as killings hit over 284 in 3 months. Right away from there, we also take another story on the Guardian newspaper this morning. High cost, others caught 62% of internet access in Nigeria. Others. That story is on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper.
All right, also reaching you from the Guardian newspaper on the top left corner, Baba Ahmed says no Nigerian can be president without the North. You can find the story on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. Very interesting story.
Very, very interesting. I think the power Tozu is already starting ahead of the 2027 election. Every vote block in Nigeria, they are trying to make their presence known that, look, you will be needing us. And then that can be linked back to the issue that came up on the papers last week, talking about the Shettima issue. You please don't change Shettima. That's coming from the APC, and of course, and then someone else coming about and saying, look, I think you should pick someone from the east.
That's
things like that. Oji Kalu. So that tells you that a lot of power play is going on behind the scenes, and that cannot be overemphasized, judging by the fact that politics is around the corner. And we're already saying the smoke. Away from there, U.S. gives a quit notice to international students with cancelled visas. You'll find that story on page 3. That's a lot to worry about for parents who have actually paid tuition fees. That's a lot for Nigeria as a country. That's a lot for the students themselves. Having to come back home when you're already on studying abroad, and then they tell you your visa has been cancelled, you have to go back home. All the money spent, where would that go?
Exactly, and I'm wondering what would have informed such a decision from the President of the United States. Well,
it's a story you have to look out for, and that story will be found on the Guardian newspaper this morning on page 3.
Okay, also from the Guardian newspaper, ACF blames Nigerians' woes on corruption, nepotism, and leadership. You'll find that on page 30 of the Guardian newspaper.
Well, I think that's something that has been around for a long time.
Corruption, nepotism,
and the idea of trying to find a job and someone asks you who recommended you, who is your godfather, who brought you here. The questions that has a lot to do with you having a godfather, a godmother somewhere. That really has to stop in a country like Nigeria, because so many talents are being put to waste. People who actually deserve jobs, some of them are not actually getting the kind of jobs they deserve. And that brings us back to a topic we discussed a few days ago, talking about how we recruit into the police, what actually happens to people who actually have the passion. The police should not be a place where people go to just because they cannot find a job somewhere.
Like a last resort.
A last resort. Well, let me try the police because I cannot find a job on my choice.
That should
not be the case. That should not be the case. I think the police should be a place where people actually have the passion, the competence, and of course the physical fitness to get the job done. I really have to be. And that should not be the last hope.
Not just because you want to stand by the rules.
Yeah, that should not be the last hope.
Okay, still from the Guardian newspapers, talking about Easter, Khan urges Christians to promote dialogue and reconciliation. You can also find that story on page 3. Okay,
I'll take this story on page 5 of the Guardian newspaper. High cost, others cut off 62% of internet access in Nigeria and others. We took that story earlier. And of course, then in Plateau, Benue killings may undermine Tinubu's 2027 bid. Vast claims. That story is on page 30 of the Guardian newspaper this morning. Okay, on the bottom part of the Guardian newspaper, SEC warns bloggers and influencers against promoting unregistered investments. That's for the finance economy page. You'll find it on page 18 of the Guardian newspaper. I think, is it the CBEX? Yeah, that actually, I think that actually prompted it. Most of the times when you have this kind of issues, if you look deep down and see how these, products were marketed to the people, how these services were marketed to the people, you realize the fact that most of the times blogs were used, and then influencers too. So if this has to be done, I think influencers have to be regulated. They have to be cautioned as regards what they, post and what they tell the people. Because most of the times people see them as role models. They feel like whatever you have said, that's almost the same to what they see on TV and on radio. So people actually listen more when they listen to people who they think has more knowledge about certain things.
Even when you use our celebrities, because that's what a lot of
that's influencing.
Do. Yes,
that's influencing.
They use the face, and so, oh, I know Samson. Okay, he's an actor. He's an activist. Okay, if he's saying he's a part of this brand,
that means it has
genuine.
to be genuine. So that pushes people, to do things they really shouldn't have done if they had the knowledge ahead of time. So away from there, nation descending into tyranny. 10th National Assembly spineless, says Bakare. That story is on page 7. Bakare happens to be a former vice presidential candidate of Nigeria.
Under, I think, was contesting with former vice president.
Yeah. All right. Away from there, we go straight to the leadership newspaper this morning. Darahemia Toban's Amza Suleiman, Sadaukin Kazar Awusa. That story is on page 30 of the leadership newspaper this morning.
Okay, in Easter, Bishop Coker here is also urging Tinubu to end hardships and insecurity. This is also coming from the leadership newspaper. And then we have the major story there, Northern leaders divided over 2027 politics, and we have the rider, although you can find that story on page 4 of the leadership newspaper, with the rider, North will define direction in 6 months, says NEF. We are non-partisan, ACF. Killings plot to frustrate Tinubu's re-election. Wow.
Probably they are saying it is politically motivated. The current spree of killings we are seeing in some parts of the country as we speak.
It looks like.
Well, if that is to be true, I think that is way out of what you should be doing or we should be saying, because human lives should be valuable.
Priority.
Every life is valuable, no one should be sacrificed
at all.
In the interest of someone else's ambition. So it means that we all have to go to the drawing board and then put on the garment of humanity. I think that is quite important at this time. We should not play politics with anyone's life. I think the last time I heard that was when the former president, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, was contested for re-election into the office of the president. He made mention of the fact that no Nigerian's life is worth his re-election into office. I think that is one thing everyone should be looking at this point. Every political office holder, everyone planning, to get into one office or the other. Nobody's life is worth that office you are aspiring to be. All right, away from there this morning, we take this story, and that's a development of the story I read earlier about Pastor Tunde Bakare. We differ with Bakare, but respect his views. That's coming from the presidency. That story is on page 17 of the leadership newspaper.
Also from the leadership newspaper on page 7, police operatives rescue 12 kidnapped victims.
I think these are stories that should be on the front page, and then they should be a major story every morning, because if we are talking about insecurity in the country and the security operatives have recorded any form of success, I think it should be reported, in a big way. And that tells you, that brings confidence back into the people, and of course a vote of confidence for the security forces in Nigeria. Like, you are doing a very good job. At least we know that every now and then when we have challenges when it comes to security, we also have good news coming out from that end. I think the reporting has been talking about how they publicize their successes hasn't been really in that space it should. But I feel from now, things should be done about that. Government abduct 7 travelers in Kwara. That's on page 7 of the leadership newspaper this morning.
All right, from there to page 18 of the leadership newspaper, defections hit APC and PDP in Gombe State. Well, defections are not new anymore.
It's cross-carpeting, and
it's not new.
It's a major thing in Nigeria,
So,
and that tells you about policies and ideas. I think people should understand the fact that as a human being vying to be in a particular position or the other, you have to have your own policies. You have to have your ideologies. That tells you where you belong. Are you a conservative, a progressive? You belong to the Labour. That means that you have an identity. But then cross-carpeting from progressive to conservative to Labour, that tells you that you have no identity. It means that anything goes. So you are only looking for power and not there to serve the people. Because if you really have an identity, you should be able to stay with one political party and fight to win that election there.
That's why they will say when it comes to our Nigerian politicians, it's like anywhere belief is.
Well, that tells you exactly why the country has a lot of issues as regards politics. We move straight to the New Telegraph newspaper this morning. All right, we take this story. Killings bring us down from the cross. Kuka tells Tinubu. That's, the caption is quite, Kaigama to political leaders. It is not time for campaigns. Nigeria's bleeding. Can seek dialogue, reconciliation. And let's use Easter to pray for compassionate leaders. That's coming from Obi. You'll find that story on page 2, page 4, page 25, page 29, and page 30 of the New Telegraph this morning.
Okay. Also from the New Telegraph, speaking about this politics and the rest of it. 2027 presidency. Not will unveil candidates soon, says Tinubu's ex-aide. And you can find that on page 3 and 4 of the New Telegraph.
Okay, let's go straight to page 6. Coalition of Southeast youth leaders salute Kalu at 65. That story is on page 6. And then we take this one to other farmer crisis. Nigeria in dire straits. That's coming from former Senate President, Senator David Mark, as he calls for intervention and strongest measures to tackle insecurity in that part of the country. Page 9, page 10, and page 26 of the New Telegraph this morning.
Okay, also on page 2, there's this story on the right-hand corner of the New Telegraph. ACF laments spate of insecurity, prays for peace in Nigeria. You can find that on page 2. Also on page 2, Serap sues federal government over Idris Abdul Karim's protest song ban. You can also find that on page 2 as they accuse NBC of censorship. Okay,
away from there, we take this one. Pope appears on Easter Sunday after serious illness amid US VP, and then that story is on page 4 of the New Telegraph.
Okay, still on Tunde Bakare on the right-hand corner, the bottom page here. Nigerians' democracy is facing existential threat, says Bakare. Insists leaders lack humility, character, humility and character this moment. Wow. Okay, that's on page 3. You can find that on page 3 of the New Telegraph.
All right, we'll take this one. SEC to crack down on influencers, bloggers promoting unregistered investment schemes. That is on Nigerian Tribune this morning, and that story is on page 6. And then, away from there, AFDB presidents to African leaders build industries to create more jobs when you export raw materials. That story is on page 7 of the Nigerian Tribune. And the writer there says, when you export raw materials, that's the door to poverty. He says that story is from the AFDB president this morning.
Okay, also from Nigerian Tribune on bottom part, ban open grazing, create border security forces. This is coming from David Mark, as it says this to the federal government.
All right, we take this one from page 22 of the Nigerian Tribune. Omokri, Tinubu's appointment reflects national character. That's on page 22 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning. Okay,
2027 PDP National Working Committee, stories on page 2, meets next week to consider governor's recommendation.
All right, Tunde Onokoya breaks Chelsea marathon world record. That story is on page 3. And of course, NDLEA intercepts cocaine in Saudi-bound religious books. That story is on page 26 of the Nigerian Tribune.
I think we are very creative as Nigerians.
Very, very
I mean,
creative.
Up to
I think
that point, when I actually saw that story,
that
like,
you saw the video.
Yes.
That was
And
creative.
I'm like, what?
But then I think that should be channeled to towards something different, maybe inventions, because doing that actually paints Nigeria in a very, very bad light. And I think that's one way. A very good job to the NDLEA for covering that.
But
that is a very good job.
Sometimes you think you have seen it all. They just come up with different ways.
There were times when it was being swallowed. There were times when, words of someone who actually braided, drugs in her hair.
I've seen it inside soup. We've seen it inside like tomato paste.
Yam tubers. They bring out what's in it, and then they stuff it inside, and then they join it again with malt.
And now inside religious books. So what's next? Okay, so I actually found out it wasn't like when I first said, is this the Bible or the Quran? Okay, it's neither of them. It's just
neither of them, just a religious book.
I said, okay, wow, interesting.
Very interesting. But then a very good job to the NDLEA.
Yes.
That's one discovery right there. Ban open grazing, create border security forces. David Mark tells federal government. That's on page 3. I think we spoke about issues of, talking about problems we are facing in the country. And then the most important thing is to be able to source for the solutions of these problems. And then former Senate President, Senator David Mark, says, look, you have to ban open grazing. That is one. 2, you have to create border security forces. And a different force, or probably a section of the existing forces in Nigeria that looks into, cross-border activities. So if you are crossing from one border to the other, you don't have a tangible reason for doing that, or some banned substances, weapons are found on you. I think you have to answer questions. I feel like our borders are too porous.
Very, very porous.
Even to external forces,
if you ask me.
Too porous.
But when it comes to banning of, open grazing, haven't we been on this matter for quite a while now?
It's about the political will to get this done. I think most, presidents who have been in power, or maybe governors in their states, for one reason or the other, chose not to toe that part. And I think that would be the best way to go about it. If there is no open grazing, I don't think there will be farmer herders crisis anymore. You just find them a location where their herds are kept and that they are fed. If anyone wants to buy any of these herds, I think they know where to go. But then, going from one place to the other, eventually getting into someone else's farm, destroying their farms with investment of millions and millions of naira, I think that's it's actually affecting Nigerians more than it affects Nigeria as a country, because Nigerians feel it more. As a country, Nigeria has a multiple source of income. Nigeria can, they can get income from agriculture, from crude, from gas, whatever it is, and even solid minerals. But then, as Nigerians, that might be the only source of income that person has, and then cows are there and they have destroyed the farm. What happens to that person who actually went to a bank to source for loans to invest into agriculture?
And if you look at the this ban or the open grazing issue. I sometimes I just sit and think that, before you could see these people going about this, taking their cows, eating, feeding them on the road, but there was no issue like, it's happening these days. So I wonder what really changed.
Well, maybe that's
really
exactly why some people are saying this could be a politically motivated attacks.
Really,
but then, if that is so, I think proper investigations have to be made. If there were no issues in these areas before now, if farmer herder crisis wasn't this rampant at that point, then what actually prompted the incessant killings of Nigerians in some parts of the country, and that is linked to farmer herder crisis. And then some are linked to banditry, some are linked to the insurgency. I think those are the major areas where Nigerians, kidnappings, those are the major areas where Nigerians are facing difficulties when it comes to security in the country. And if that is done, if proper investigations are done, but then I want to tell you that this is not the first time investigations are launched to see what exactly is happening. But then when the results come, are they being implemented? These are questions. So that is why I said it has a lot to do with the political will to get these things done in the country. It takes someone who knows that whether you like it or not, I might not come back for the second time, but this I have come to do, I will do.
I believe if they really want this to work, they can make it work.
Of course, that's the point. 2027 PDP National Working Committee meets next week to consider governors' recommendations. That story is on page 22 of the Nigerian Tribune this morning.
Okay, from Nigerian Tribune, I think we'll move
to
on
this day.
to this day.
Newspaper this morning.
Okay, and the major story here says North will decide its stand in next 6 months, says Hakeem Baba Ahmed. A lot of writers there, Samson, would you please take those?
All right, insist on no one can win presidency without it. Says they are tired of playing identity politics. Malami insists Al-Makura Masari-led group can't speak for CPC bloc ahead of 2027. Ex-AGF is paper tiger with no electoral value. APC chief declares. And that has to do with Babachir Lawal, who was the ex. You know, there are so many.
Tiger.
You know, that's qualifying him like that really says a lot about the current battle going on in the APC and of course outside APC. There are so many other forces outside APC who are really interested and keenly interested in what is going on within the APC and what is going on outside APC. And that tells you how big the political party is and how so many people are willing to actually see the party lose the next election. And then, if you put all this together, the permutations and combinations ahead of the next election, you will know that there are so many things going on. And that includes what is going on within the PDP and some people coming together with Malam Nasir El-Rufai, the former governor of Kaduna State, forming a new political party in the existing SDP. And then you have the Labour Party who actually pulled a lot of weight in the last election. So I feel that if you are really going to mount a serious challenge against the existing political party, I mean the ruling political party in the country, I think it is a lot better when you come together as one political party, just like the APC did. They came together, not one, not two, not three political parties, to form an alliance to be the APC. Most importantly, the ACN of then and of course the CPC. They came together to win. But we are seeing political parties at this time being torn apart and saying they want to form an alliance against the ruling party.
But there are words on the streets that even a coalition might not work.
Might not work
against the APC.
Because everyone has vested interest. Everyone has vested interest in winning the election. Peter Obi wants to be the president. Atiku Abubakar wants to be the president. And so we have so many people with keen interest of being the president. And then who is going to sink his own ship just that one ship can actually sail? That's the question. So that takes us away from there. Easter, Khan, Kuka, Kaigama speak for suffering Nigerians. Governors offer, others seek peace, unity. That story is on the upper third of This Day newspaper this morning.
Okay, also from This Day newspaper, Senate leader, to battle insecurity, we're creating legal framework for state police.
And the riders shun terrorism. Northern senators caution perpetrators. FG must treat killer herdsmen as terrorists, says David Mark. You'll find that story on This Day newspaper this morning. Away from there, we go straight to the blueprint. And then 5 die, 20 rescued in collapsed Lagos 3-story building. That's coming from NEMA, National Emergency Management Agency. I think the issue of collapsed buildings in Lagos has not really left the newspaper in the last few years. It has been reoccurring. Not just Lagos, even in Oyo State, we have had issues of collapsed buildings. And that leads us to where we talk about quality control when it comes to construction in the country. I think that has to be handled with care. Lives are being lost on a daily basis just by the carelessness of some construction engineers, a few of them, if I may put it that way. I think also we should talk about building owners. If you are bringing in a construction engineer, don't bring them on board because they told you that you can achieve what you want to achieve with less amount of money. I think quality is a lot more important. I have someone who can do it at a cheaper rate should not be the question when it comes to construction. You should look out for quality and should be ready to pay for quality. I
agree with you. And also we have to find out, I don't know whether these buildings are maybe
certified after construction.
Yes, and I'm still looking at the age. You know, sometimes some buildings are really old, but then again, maybe to find out from the experts, you mean, does a building get that old?
I think what we need to be looking at is
collapses.
When it comes to the kind of soil you are building on, depends on the kind of foundation you are going to lay on those places, and depends on the kind of building. You know, there are different kinds of soil, and then you have to do soil examination before you even start building. Most people don't do it. They just start digging foundation and then they build. And that should not be the case. So if you don't do soil examination, you might experience this kind of situation, because if you are building on a kind of soil that, you know, maybe in 10, 20, 30 years might have the tendency of sinking, that will be a major problem. And then you don't know. You are doing that ignorantly because you don't know. That is exactly why you have to bring, you know, the best ends on the job. People who know the job. You consult. Use consultants who know the job. Experts on this. So if you are not doing it, you are doing yourself a whole lot of disservice. People might be thinking bringing an expert on, you know, a small construction of this kind might be, you know, you wasting money. It's not waste of money. Because eventually, if you think you are wasting money, you will end up wasting lives. And that is one thing you should really avoid as a person.
I believe very soon on Daybreak Live, we'll be looking at this.
Yes, we'll probably will bring an expert on board who will talk about
buildings to let people know. Because I think a lot of people don't know. It's not just about you having land or having money to buy land and then you start building.
Do you actually know the kind of land
you have, and then you bring in an engineer who wants to just make money. Okay, buy blocks, buy this, but it's not telling you the truth. And then you put up a very beautiful mansion, very beautiful. And then in how many years?
I've also seen buildings where loads were actually resting on blocks. Blocks should be non-load bearing components of a structure.
The quality of blocks also.
So if you are putting loads on blocks, it means that you are putting so much weight and they tend to crack along the line. And once cracks start, you might not be able to stop it. That's why you see some people doing pillars all around their houses, and then before they start building, they only fill in with blocks. So blocks will not carry loads. It is just for you to partition your, you know, your building. So away from there, we take stories of the global investor storms up Nigeria's economic reforms, urge sustenance of inflows to undo international shocks. That story is on the Blueprint newspaper this morning.
Okay, also from the Blueprint newspaper, betrayers, politicians behind correct security travails. This is coming from CAN and the ACF.
Okay, NAS developing legal framework to state policing. That's coming from the Senate leader this morning. And that story is on the Blueprint newspaper.
Okay, Matawale tackles Governor Lawal over Zamfara's finances and security. This is also from the Blueprint newspaper.
All right, Tech Fund knows 10 billion naira mechanized farming for universities. That story is on page 15 of the Blueprint. And then we take this one. Trump plans major cuts to U.S. Diplomacy in Africa. That's another one there. That's on page 6. I think Trump has a lot in stock for African countries, you know, during his second term in office.
I think Trump, it just looks like Trump was just sitting and waiting. Let me just come into power.
During the election, he made mention it will be America for Americans. And I feel like he's already driving there. Maybe he has a lot.
He really came prepared.
Yeah. All right, let me take this one. NDLEA uncovers cocaine hidden in religious books. That's on page 13, and that was reported in another newspapers this morning. That takes us away from the Blueprint newspaper, and of course, we go straight to Business Day newspaper. And of course, the major headline on Business Day says containers stuck at Lagos ports as Easter clearing drags. You know, the holidays here, and majorly we'll have issues like this. You know, once you are on holiday, so many people who are actually meant to be at their duty post will also be observing the holiday. So let's see what happens, you know, at the end of the holiday.
And there's this big story. Reforms position Nigerian economy to withstand shocks, says IMF. And it has a rider as tight monetary policy stands required to rein in inflation.
Also, oil price slide makes case for diversification to mining. That story is on page 30 of the Business Day.
And also on Business Day, Abuja leisure industry booms on rising population, middle class income. You can find this on page 31 of the Business Day newspaper.
And we take the sporting story this morning, which we took earlier, about Tunde Onakoya breaking the world Chelsea record again. I think he's in for something. He has been doing it, and he has done it again and again. So
wow,
it tells you he knows exactly what he's doing, and he's really good at what he does. And that takes us away from this segment of the show. This morning, we go on a short break. Don't forget, the show is still Daybreak Live on Dominion Television, where inspiration meets entertainment. We'll go on a short break, and when we return, we'll go to the next segment on the show this morning. Keep it locked on this dial. You can watch us live on YouTube at Dominion Broadcast, and you can also do that on all other social media platforms. Follow, like, and subscribe on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. It is at Dominion Broadcast, and on X at Dominion Broadcast. We'll be back after this time out. All right, welcome back from that short break. The show is still Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. Don't forget you can watch us live on all social media platforms. You can do that on Facebook. You can also link up with us on TikTok and Instagram. It is at Dominion Broadcast. You can watch us live on our YouTube channel at Dominion Broadcast and watch us live on our website at dominion.org.ng. And of course on X, it is at Dominion Broadcast. We'll go to the next segment on the show this morning, and that is where we go into analysis. This is the session where we bring you unbiased analysis and undiluted reportage. Thank you for joining us once again. We have in the studio this morning Reverend Daunsi Olaniyi, who is the senior pastor of His Pavilion Christian Center, Ibadan, and the Deputy Director of Programs, Radio Nigeria, Ibadan Zona Station. He is a pastor, a mentor, a coach, a media personality, and of course, an author. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. And I must say congratulations to Dominion Television, and happy Easter to everyone listening.
All right,
Good morning,
we'll be
sir.
talking.
Good morning.
We'll be talking about something really important. As we know, Easter is in the air, and there's a lot to talk about this morning. Talking about Easter, what is the true meaning of Easter from a Christian perspective?
Oh yes, I like that, saying from a Christian perspective. The Easter is, in summary, the story and the events that surrounds the crucifixion and resurrection of our Lord Jesus Christ. And if you're going to take it as a whole, it's the zenith of the ministry of our Lord Jesus Christ, his assignment to save humanity from our sin and to reconnect us back to God. As it's been said that it's not the beginning that matters, but the end. You know, so if Jesus had been born, like we celebrate Christmas, and there's always that glamour and fanfare. But if he had not fulfilled his mandate of redemption, then it would have just been an effort in futility. But thank God because he did. And so that's why we celebrate Easter.
Okay, away from there, how can individuals deepen their spiritual connection during this Easter season?
Okay, as you're aware, before the Easter celebration in itself, there's always the Lent fast, which has to do with a lot of consecration, people putting aside, you know, their old manner of life and seeking to have more of the knowledge of God. Fasting to a Christian is a time of denial, is a time of putting the flesh under. If you like Colossians chapter 3 puts it, it said, if you are risen with Christ, it said, therefore, seek those things that are above where Christ is seated. And then it said to do that, you have to mortify the flesh. So it's a time to put the flesh to death and then allow the Spirit to permeate our heart. So we have a connection where, you know, you are able to pray more, you're able to read the Word of God more because you have put the flesh under, and then you're fasting. So it brings in the revelation of God. The light of the Word is more real to you, and then your purpose is enhanced. You know, you listen to God and you hear him more. As Christians, you must be able to hear God speak to you. And so that is the beginning of the season of Easter. Now, Easter itself is a great time to every Christian because you remember the death and the resurrection of Jesus. The death, the sobriety, the pain, the exchange, knowing that he actually came because of you. The Son of God came to die for the sons of men so that the sons of men can become the sons of God. And the price is so heavy that we couldn't have paid it by ourselves. No man can pay the price of death for himself and still live. So if you pay the price of death, then you're dead. But Jesus put it upon himself so that he can die for us. While we live, we already paid the price. When he hanged on the cross of on Calvary, and then, you know, we have the words that is said there that has become stations of the cross to so many believers today. At the end of all of that, I don't want to bore you with the story. He said, "It is finished." The word "it is finished" in the Hebrew language is translated from tetelestai. That word tetelestai is a legal word for three major events. Number one event is when you go to purchase a particular commodity, and you're not just paying in advance, you pay in full. You're given a receipt stamped fully paid. So when he said tetelestai, he said, "I have fully paid the price of sin. I have fully paid what the devil will have required because man fell into his trap in the Garden of Eden in Genesis chapter 3. And so Romans chapter 3:23 says, "The wages of sin is death." And it's not just about the devil, it's even the law of God. And God cannot break his law. And so he requires that someone has to take that weight upon himself. Now this is it. While Adam fell, every one of us was left with no choice. We all became sinners because that is our source. And so there is also the need that someone will start something new. Jesus Christ now became the second Adam, so he paid the price so that we can be reconnected back to God. We don't have to die again. So tetelestai means paid in full. Number two, tetelestai is also used when a person is charged to court and the person has been sentenced and then he has served the sentence in full. So when the sentence has been served in full, by the time the judge is discharging or acquitting the person, it says tetelestai, means nobody can hold this person accountable again for what it did, no matter how wrong it is. And then the third meaning of tetelestai, which Jesus said on the cross of Calvary, is used at the battlefront when the victory has been won. So all hands down, no more shooting of any arrow or of any bullet. Tetelestai, the battle is over. And in this wise, Jesus won the victory, delivered it to the hands of everyone that believes in him, that is connected to him. And then we are now more than conquerors because
Are there any common misconceptions about Easter from some angles?
Except you know the angles.
Yeah, well...
So let me just chip in this just before we leave this. Okay. It just occurred to me. So something happened last week, and because you're a pastor, I really want to hear your view from a pastor as well, who said that Jesus did not come for sinners, or Jesus did not mix with poor people. That's the word, Pastor Ibiyome. I don't know if you saw that news. What's your take on it?
Oh, yes. I think the issue with picking on pastors, if you like picketing, is one thing that people do in our days. But the first thing that I always tell them is, have you listened to the entire message? Do you have the spirit of the message? What he said, is it right or wrong? Pastor Ibiyome never said that Jesus did not mix or touch sinners.
Poor people.
I mean, poor people. Okay. What is said is that Jesus and indeed God does not want you to be poor. As a matter of fact, he hates poverty. That's what he said. Okay. Now, it's the same thing when I say that Jesus hates sin, but he likes sinners. So if you do not hate sickness, for example, you cannot place premium on your life, on your health, on your healing. And I must say that there are people that, it's not everybody that is sick that goes to the hospital. You know, some people still feel, well, they can still bear with it, they can still put up with it, maybe to go by itself, until it becomes critical and they become helpless. It is those around them, their neighbors, that will help them. Now, so in this wise, he said that Jesus hates poverty. And it's true. So why would he have died? So that through his poverty, we might become rich. So one of the things that Jesus came to do is to take away poverty. So I like to encourage people that when you listen to messages, don't just isolate few words. Now, the truth is, in 1 hour as you are seated here, if there's a mischievous cameraman who wants to pick your words here and isolate it and sell it to the world for whatever reason, he can do that. And you'll be struggling with having to redeem what you said, maybe to say you actually said it, or that was not what you meant, you know, and all the rest. The foundation of the scriptures is very sure. Jesus died to take away sin, so God hates sin. Boy, he ate with sinners. He dined with sinners, but he never left them as sinners. The same way, God hates poverty. Deuteronomy chapter 8 verse 18 says, he's the one that gives us the power to get wealth. So that's to destroy poverty. And Paul said to the Corinthians that you know the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ, that even though he was rich, but he became poor, so that through his poverty we might become rich. Now, you have children, for example. Now, you want your children to be better than you. So in your poverty, the little you have makes meaning in sending them to school and feeding them.
Exactly.
Okay, so that they can come out better in life. So you also hate poverty.
I do.
You also hate poverty. Nobody likes poverty.
Nobody.
So why the argument? I think we should just look at the spirit of the word and labor for what he has said, rather than pitching and, you know, arguing about all of that as if we're actually trying to encourage poverty. No, we're not, and we will not.
Okay.
All right, thank you for that, Reverend Olani Downsy.
Oluni Downsy.
Oluni Downsy. Okay, I will go straight to stories on the pages of the newspaper this morning. But before then, what's your message for Nigerians on a day like this?
On a day like this, God offers us the opportunity to remember him and the price, the sacrifice that was paid for us. And then he calls us to accept it. And in doing that, you have to accept the person that paid the price. So you have to accept Jesus as your Lord and your Savior. And then sin no longer have dominion over man, because we're not held bound, we're not held captive. We're now free. What we exercise now is the power of choice. And as Joshua put it, he said, choose you this day whom you will serve. So I encourage you to choose life. I encourage you to choose light. I encourage you to choose God. And if we have all of this, it's going to impact on every aspect of our lives, even our polity, our nation, our economy. Now, because that was the essence why Jesus came. That's my message to all of us.
All right, Abby, you would want to take this
Okay, so now we'll go into, because you're a pastor as well. Pastors are saying a lot now. I mean, Tunde Bakare is there, talking about tyranny and saying the National Assembly is spineless. We also have these betrayals and politicians behind current insecurity travails. This is Khan speaking as well.
And the ACF. What's your take on this? Is it true? What's your take on this particular headline?
Yeah, well, when people speak, they have some facts and figures. And sometimes, even if it's not completely, if you don't completely agree, you have to look at the narrative and what and who are the people that are culpable. Now, the reason why there will always be topics like this is because someone said that if you are at the top, you become the topic. And our leaders must learn to take responsibility. You can't keep shifting responsibility that has been placed upon you forever. In Senna climes, when you cannot handle particular issues that looks big for your office, you resign. You get out for someone else who has the gut, who has the will, who has everything that it takes to fight it. So I encourage the government. You see, the power of governance is very powerful, and you don't govern with sentiment. You govern based on the Constitution, and we've said it over and over again that the first assignment of the government is security. If there's no security, then maybe they themselves are not even safe. We've had instances where people in government are also attacked, you know. So the issue of security has to be taken, and all the strength of government has to go into it.
All right, let me take this other question and attach it to what we are currently discussing. There's a particular item that says, stop playing God. Bakari, Pastor Tunde Bakari tells Tinubu, has the president been playing God since he came to office, or is he playing God in any way?
Well, to play God is relative, and to play God is not just a straight-jacketed thing. It's a wide thing. It depends on what Pastor Tunde Bakari meant by that. But the truth is that, you know, when someone wields power, there is a way in which people expect you to wield it with all sense of responsibility and humility also. You know, so maybe you also play God in your small family, you know, and then someone tries to caution you to say, stop playing God. Yes, we all do things, howbeit consciously or unconsciously, to a certain extent. And when people caution us, then we should just take it. So for me, if he's able to explain himself to the president, how he feels the president is playing God, and the president understands that very well, then truly,
And he also said the
no man can be God.
No, National Assembly, they're spineless. You really think they're spineless? You think they're not doing enough?
Or are they rubber stamp assembly?
Talking about the National Assembly, they have their duties. They have their
oversight functions.
Oversight functions and everything. You see, they are not there for themselves. They are there to represent us. And we all see differently. We all hear differently. As a matter of fact, somewhere in the Bible, Jesus was telling the people that were listening to him, he said, beware how you hear. Not even what you hear, but how. So when you have an issue from your own constituency and you ask your representative to go and table it before the government, and it's not well tabled, you can call a town hall meeting. You can tell your representative, this is actually what we want. If you don't like what the government is doing, you can tell him, oppose that thing, not for yourself, but for us. So there are so many things going on in the National Assembly. Some of them are not even so public. And it's supposed to be so public that everybody can say his own. And like it's always been said, the majority will have their way, but the minority will also have their say. So nobody should be muzzled. Everybody should keep talking. That's democracy for you.
And the National Assembly, are they really representing, like you say? Would you say they're representing?
It's the community that will tell each representative whether they have represented them well or not. It's not just, I can't say whether the representative of a state that is different from my own state is working well. But I can say that, in my community, I saw something different. Who did it? Oh, it was our representative that moved the motion, and then the government came into it. I could say, oh, yes, beautiful. Then I can say, this has not been done. Then he can tell me, yes, we are planning to do it. We don't have enough funds already. You don't have all the information.
Okay, so I'll make it personal now.
Okay, yeah.
Is your representative representing?
You're talking about my representative.
Yes.
Do you know my representative?
I don't know. That's why I'm asking you.
You don't know my representative?
No, I don't know.
Let's talk about killings.
Okay.
You know, in some part of the country this morning, there has been incessant killings in some part of the country, in the Middle Belt, Northeast, North Central, whatever you may have it in the country. And of course, there's this headline on the New Telegraph: killings bring us down from the cross. That's coming from Reverend Atikuka to Tinubu, and then Kaigama to political leaders. It is not time for campaigns. Nigeria is bleeding. Is it time for campaign now? You know, when it comes to politics, after the election, they're already doing permutation and combination for the next election. This is 2025. The next election is 2027. And we're already saying movers and shakers of the political arena already moving and shipping to one political party or the other. And Kaigema is telling them this morning, look, it is not time for campaign. The country is bleeding. What's your take on this particular headline?
Very, very true to his perspective. However, let me first say this, that wherever there is killing and shedding of blood, God is not happy. Killing is a major, major crime. And God does not smile at it at all, no matter what the reason. We saw the first murder in the Bible where Cain killed Abel. And we knew what God said. The blood of your brother is crying for vengeance. Blood does not rest. It doesn't sleep. We are spirit beings. We're not just mortals that once we are dead, we perish and we go into oblivion. No. You must understand the reality of the spirit. So the blood was crying. And Lamech again killed another man. And God multiplied the punishment of Cain upon Lamech. It was not the same. It was even more. And so wherever there is killing, God is not happy. Now, anywhere in the world where there is killing, every arsenal of government must be deployed. Everything. As a matter of fact, the military are supposed to move ahead, not when 10 people died, when the first person dies. We're supposed to move every organ of security into the place. And so it's not a thing to toy with. It's not a thing to joke with. The government has to be serious about it. Our soldiers have to be deployed into the community, the forest. Nigeria has helped countries a lot, even during crisis. We've had our army being professionals, even in peacekeeping forces. Yes, it's an internal thing, it's within. They're not going to kill, or level one community for the other. But peace has to be restored. And there's no arms or ammunition that people carry against themselves that the military does not have superior weapons. And so that should be taken very, very seriously. I think it's lingering for too long. I think we are dragging our feet. Our security apparatus is not well mobilized enough. I think people should, and that's why people are speaking up. However, everything is a campaign. Not until you come on the television or radio to begin to do jingles to say they should vote for you. Whatever you do now speaks for you when the election comes. Really comes. So people should stop, politicking with lies. I think our government should rise to that.
Farmer herder crisis has been a thing in Nigeria for the past few years. We have seen killings in Benue State, we have seen in Plateau State, we have seen in Kogi State. It has happened almost everywhere, even in the southwest and southeast. Farmer herder crisis has not gone under the carpet. Senator David Mark, the former Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, he has been in the news for the last 1 or 2 weeks, vehemently making his intentions known about what is going on in the country and to his people, saying, look, this is becoming more of an attack that is coordinated. This is no longer the random attacks you have. This is becoming a coordinated attack on my people. Now, I want to ask you this question. While he was in the office, there were moves to ban open grazing in Nigeria. I don't think he was one of the people that spoke, that were vocal about this particular issue. Now, open grazing is a thing that is still going on, despite at a point some states were really vocal about it, look, there should be a place where herders are kept and farms should be left alone for farmers. This is now becoming a major problem. As every now and then you open the pages of the newspaper, you see stories about supposed herdsmen who actually probably attacked some farmers on their farms, destroyed their farms while the farmers were not there. Herds were actually, directed to these farms and they were destroyed. In what way do you think Nigeria can once and for all put this to rest, the clashes between farmers and herders in Nigeria, putting into consideration the history of farmers and herders in the country?
Yeah, thank you. It's become a real issue and it's growing by the day, as you have narrated. The first thing on my mind that I believe government should have done since yesteryears is to bring both the farmers and the herders to the table. Yes, some people say that has been done a number of times, but has the results been implemented? You mentioned that some states banned open grazing. after banning open grazing, what was the opportunity? What were the channels that were opened to ensure that both farmers live and the other? Now, let me say this, that the herders cannot survive without the farmers. They also have to eat. They will eat more than meat and drink more than milk. Now, to me, the first thing is education. There was a time when nomadic education was promoted. You know, say,
Goodluck Ebele Jonathan administration.
Even before the Goodluck Ebele Jonathan administration. Goodluck Ebele Jonathan administration now decided to enforce it and give them structures. And erected schools where they could put them and scattered it all over, you know, the north. But the program did not survive. After that administration. Now, you see, the issue about farmer herders clash has gone beyond their profession as farmers and herders. There is a tribal sentiment to it, which is not supposed to be so. When education comes, everybody sees the light and understands the way it really is. As a matter of fact, I read sometimes a research work that was done to actually reveal that even with our the Fulani style of going from place to place, rearing their cattle, they're still not having the best of those cattle in terms of size, in terms of meat, in terms of milk. If the reason for my business is to make gain, if you come to me and tell me a better way to profit, and then you come to me as a friend, I will understand what you're saying, and I'm interested in gain. I'm likely to do that thing if all the other conditions are right. I think the government should be fair even to our brothers.
284 people have lost their lives in the last 3 months, and that's in Benue and Plateau State alone.
Yes, it's so appalling. It's
284.
I mean, it's so disheartening that this is not even in war. Okay, it's not a full-blown war. These are just community skirmishes and farmers, others, you know, and you hear that some people come into villages where people are helpless, and then they kill and then they run back. Maybe they also have casualties on the other sides and all the rest. We've had a lot of sit-ins in this country. During Goodluck Ebele Jonathan's administration, we all came to table. But some of these things were not implemented. Why were they not implemented? Sometimes later we begin to hear that some of the things, if they are going to be implemented, they are heavy, they are this, they are that. There's nothing that should be heavier than preservation of lives. So people should say there are places where these things are working, where farmers and herders live together.
Coexist.
They cohabit, they marry themselves, they are enjoying their lives. But why are we not there? Why has it become so terrible? I think if we should wake up and remove the tribal sentiment and politics, I think all problems have a solution.
So implementation is a big problem.
I think we have a lot of white papers of whatever color of the papers that have not, that have not been implemented.
All right, still talking on the north here. I don't know whether to call these tribal sentiments, but Baba Ahmed says no Nigerian can be president without the north.
Oh yes, the north is part of Nigeria. It could have been said otherwise, that no Nigerian can be president without the south also. So we're together. And I think
every region has an important role to play.
Every region has a stake.
Okay.
And no Nigerian can be president without the East. You know, our electoral law says you must have some percentage everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's not there, then it's going to be a runoff, or you're going to have to merge or do things. So it's just a correct sentiment. Let's just remove the fact that I mentioned the North.
Okay. Talking about 2027 politics, Northern leaders are divided on who is going to be the candidates representing the North in the year 2027. Now, we have seen moves from some political parties, Malam Nasir El-Rufai joining the SDP, and of course trying to woo some people to join him and then face the ruling All Progressives Congress in the next election. Now, going back memory lane, when APC was formed, some major political parties merged to present a candidate. In 2011, they presented President Muhammadu Buhari. And then 2015 too. This is a case of parties coming together to make sure they win an election. But the next election is coming, and we are seeing parties being broken to win an election against the ruling party. What will happen in the next election? Is it safe to say it's going to be a stroll in the park for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to win an election? Because the PDP has not got their acts together. Labour Party, though, with massive votes in the last election, are they going to maintain the same standard? And then we have a new us in the race, which is the SDP. Malam Nasir El-Rufai also trying to bring some people to join him in the political party, notably the former Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Atiku Abubakar. What will happen in 2027, by your own estimation of the current permutation and combination going on in the political arena in Nigeria?
Election is never a walkover anywhere. Even when people have one party state, it's never a walkover. Not to talk about where there are such divisions and alignments and realignments. But then that is what politics is all about. It's all about policy and programs and the perspectives of people and the actions that have been taken in the country. So when you feel that the person that is there currently is not doing what is in the best interests of the people, you go to the people, tell them that you will do something better. You know, however, we've always had a lot of promises, but do people keep their promises? People will go back down memory lane to know your antecedents. When you had power, what did you do? How did the people under you fare? Now, is it that you are trying to gather people because you have been pushed out of the line? Or do you really have the interest of the people at heart? There will always be alignment and realignment. And politics is never a stroll. Never say never. So everyone or anyone that is eventually going to come up is going to work for it. So that's just my piece. The president is there. Yes, people talk about the power of incumbency. But we've seen presidents being defeated, okay, on their stool. And we've seen presidents being re-elected. So nobody, you know, as Nigerians, we like people to just prophesy and say this is, you know, what will happen. Nobody can tell what will happen. The reason is because there is, first of all, going to be the primary, which is our representative deciding who is going to be the flag bearer. Most of the time, once the primary is done, our choices have been limited. Okay? So you just decide to go for which among them, you know. So, and you're talking of SDP now. The last election we had Labour Party, who was a third force. I mean, nobody's talking about Labour Party now. So maybe they are still going to get their acts together and come up with something. Maybe another party, maybe the same party. I think everyone is just writing our history and our story. And like I said the other time, majority will have their way. All right,
thank you, Reverend Dawusi, for joining us in the studio this morning.
Thank you.
It has been a wonderful session with you, and we thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me.
We do hope that next time we'll call you, you'll be here.
By the grace of God.
All right, the show is still Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. Don't forget, we have had in the studio Reverend Oluniyi Dawusi, the lead pastor. He is Pavilion Christian Center, Akobo, Ibadan. Let's go on a short break, and when we return, the show continues, Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. All right, let's link up with
Good morning, Samson. How are you doing this morning?
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you this morning?
Well, I'm doing fine. I'm sure you have a lot in store for us this morning.
Oh, definitely. Taking you through all that's happening on social media this morning.
The white wedding of Priscilla.
Yes, it was such a beautiful. Yes, yes, it was. Yes, it was.
All right, just do your thing, Morayo.
Thank you so much, Samson.
You're welcome.
Good morning and welcome to Trend Watch. My name is Morayo Olua. I wish you all a happy Easter. And this morning, I'll be taking you through all that is happening on social media. This morning, we start with a not-so-great story, as Big Bolaji, a gospel singer, has died at the age of 50. Sad, sad story. Let's take a look at the official statement of the family. It is with profound sadness that we announce the passing of Bolaji Olanrewaju, affectionately known as Big B, a cherished father, husband, brother, and an esteemed figure in both the church community, an ordained pastor in the RCCCG, and a giant in the music industry and our community. Bolaji left us on Easter Sunday, 19th April 2025, after a brief illness. This is so sad. I'm personally sad because, you know, he did a lot in the body of Christ. He was respected in the body of Christ. And, you know, the internet was sad on Saturday. Let's take a look at some of the comments on social media. All right. Adebomi08 says, this is sad, but then again, we are all going to leave this world someday. Yes, that is true, but this was fast. This was quick. We didn't expect this. I mean, nobody expects death, but this one hit us quite hard and we're not happy. All right, let's take a look at another comment by Femi Jacobs, who is an actor, also a Christian. Oh, wow, Big B is gone. Lord have mercy on his friends and families. Bolaji was such a beautiful soul. And that is a testimony of most people, that he was a beautiful soul, a great Christian. You know, he led worship and praise amazingly. And, you know, we're going to miss him in the body of Christ. All right, let's take a look at the next comment. Kumi Global Services says, in anything you are doing, always be conscious of your actions because people are watching you and they will one day say something about you, either good or bad. Big Bolaji is no more, but his works are still living and people are saying great things about him. I would advise you that whatever you do, make sure that you are living your life well. When you leave, obviously, you are leaving a legacy behind. And I do hope that you leave a good legacy. All right, this is sad. We are sad. And we hope and pray that the family is comforted and that he rests in perfect peace. All right, during the weekend, we had the wedding, the white wedding of Priscilla Ojo and Joma Jukes. It was such a beautiful ceremony as Pastor Itwa Igodalo did the joining on Saturday. It was a beautiful, 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 you know, wedding. Different. Look at her. She looks stunning. The dress is beautifully beaded. It was made by Vicky James. Vicky James made this dress. It was so beautiful. I enjoyed all the looks at this wedding. She looks so stunning. And obviously, many guests, celebrities, influencers, content creators, and friends and family of the couple also graced this beautiful event. We had, you know, Chioma Goodhair. We had her mother who looked stunning, absolutely stunning in, you know, her blue attire. Vicky James looked stunning as well. You know, the wedding was so beautiful. And I'm so happy for them. They looked absolutely stunning. We had the big auntie, you know, doing all the run around, Toyin Abraham. She looked stunning as well. You see, this garden wedding, I love the, you know, the new theme of doing outdoor weddings, right? Not staying indoors to do the wedding. Outdoor weddings are so beautiful. Although the rain disturbed them later on in the event, you know, but the wedding was beautiful regardless. We had Eniolua, her best friend, who gave a lovely video, you know, just telling her that he would miss her. Vicky James is, well, looking good. Diana, who was a bridesmaid, looked absolutely stunning. You see, the pictures from this wedding are world class. I applaud the photographers, videographers. Anyone that did anything at this wedding did it well and it was done well. I really, you know, love how this wedding turned out. It was the talk of the weekend. If you go all over social media right now, it's JP 2025 that you would see all over social media. Thank you so much, and that is all I have for you on Trend Watch. Back to Abby and Samson in the studio.
All right, Morayo, that was awesome. We had you know, so much fun, you know, listening to you talking about the wedding. That was really, really massive. You saw Juma Jokes really happy there. At the point
They
he was moved
looked
to
absolutely
tears.
stunning.
But what actually concerns me is Eniolua, who was actually, you know, shedding tears.
He's going to
was
miss
he
his
doing
friend
that?
now. Ebi, sorry, Samson, if your friend gets married, will you not, if your close friend that you're tight, if she gets married, will you not cry?
Well, I might not, you know.
Why?
It's a thing of joy anyway, but...
Yes,
I
you know,
felt,
he's happy that his friend is getting married.
You know, there were insinuations on Twitter that that his tears were not really genuine, and I felt
He
like
was crying from a place of deep hurt. He's going to miss his friend. She's moving to Tanzania. You can't blame her.
well, according to reports, the wedding is not over. There's another grand.
There's a big
grand
party
finale
happening
going
in Tanzania, and we'll
Tanzania.
be here to take you through all of that. Don't worry.
All right, thank you for joining us this
Thank
morning.
you so
Moraya.
much, Samson.
Good to have you. All right, the show continues on Dominion Television. The show is still Daybreak Live, and of course, I still have with me in the studio, Abby Dickinson, with whom we have been doing this together. We'll go on a short break, and then I want to tell you that you can watch us live on our website at dominion.org.ng. You can also do that on our YouTube channel at Dominion Broadcast. Link up with us, like, follow, and share our post on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Dominion Broadcast. And then you can do that too on X at Dominion Cast. Let's go on a short break. When we return, we'll go straight to sport this morning, as Daybreak Sport is the next thing on our agenda, and Toluwani Paul Abe will be waiting. Up next is Daybreak Sport on Dominion Television with okay Tolu. All right, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Samson,
Mr.
and good morning,
Oluwaji.
Eddie.
How are you doing today?
Very great. It was a fantastic weekend, no doubt, in the world of sport, and we're here to serve you nothing but the best.
There's quite a lot to talk about, from Chelsea's comeback to Manchester United's, not so good results.
Absolutely, absolutely. It was a good comeback for Chelsea Football Club as they continue their push for a
European
ticket
places
to the Continental Cup next season. But I'm sure you want to talk about the Nigerian Premier Football League. That's where we're starting. With Shooting Stars suffering a major blow in their chase for a continental title next season. Well, yesterday at the Lagos Salami Stadium, Shooting Stars Sports Club of Ibadan lost by a single goal to visiting Remo Stars. Alex Oyoa got the goal for Remo Stars that condemned Shooting Stars to their first home defeat of the season. Let's take a look at the results from the Nigerian Premier Football League this weekend, starting with Shooting Stars. Lost to their visitors from Ikenne. It was a major blow that indeed boosted Remo Stars' chances of course, winning the title. 1-0 ended at Lagos Salami Stadium. But let's start with what we saw on Saturday, where Katsina United defeated Abia Warriors. And of course, Eyimba also got the better of Kano Pilas. Well, Lobby Stars and Rangers also went head-to-head, and of course it was an intriguing encounter. Now, taking a look at other results as well, Academy Warriors and Ikorodu City played out a 1-1 draw, while Niger Tornadoes and Bayelsa United also played 1-1. Let's take a look at its implication on the table as we speak. Well, Remo Stars, courtesy of that important win yesterday at the Lagos Salami Stadium, are still top. 65 points is what they have at the moment. Rivers United with 58 points, followed by Ikorodu City with 53 points. Ikorodu City, they are third at the moment with 53 points, while Abia Warriors 53 as well. Benin Insurance 58, and of course, courtesy of that loss, Shooting Stars find themselves 8th on the table at this moment. Not the position their fans want them to be at this point. Well, bottom of the table, as you can see, Heartland Football Club, Aqua United, Sunshine Stars, and already relegated Lobby Stars Football Club. Well, from there, let's take a look at update from the Nigerian National League. That was the second tier of Nigerian League football, where matches were indeed also played over there. Well, most importantly for us in Oyo State is the game involving Edel Football Club and Crown FC. Don't forget, Crown FC, they are Oyo State's representative in that competition, and they suffered a loss, well, expected it anyways, away from home, 2-0. Crown FC lost that game, and at the moment, they are third on the NNL table, but then it's still quite close there, and anything can still happen. Talking about the table of the Nigerian National League this morning, they are in Conference A, where Crown FC currently occupy the third position. Don't forget, the top 2 teams in each group will qualify for the playoffs, where the eventual teams that will make it to the next round, and that's talking about the NPFL, will emerge. Well, wish Crown FC all the very best. They are quite close, right? Yes, they are close, and we believe that they can get the job done. Well, from there, let's take a look at the Flamingos of Nigeria. That's Nigeria under-17 female national team. They were in action, at the weekend, and of course, it was on Saturday at the Remo Star Stadium. It was the under-17 female World Cup qualifiers, and they were head-to-head against their Algerian counterpart, and they won by 4-0 to boost their hopes of making it to the Under-17 World Cup holding in Morocco later on this year. Let me inform you that the girls will take the return leg in Algeria later on Friday, with the winner on aggregate making it to the World Cup. And after the game on Saturday, they were rewarded with 6 million naira. 2 million naira coming from the NFF, while 4 million came from the proprietor of Remo Stars, that's Honorable Kunle Shoname. Well, from there, let's take a look at what we saw in the CAF Confederations Cup and the CAF Champions League at the weekend. Let's start with the Confederations Cup, as you can see on your screen. Simba SC, of Tanzania, defeated Stellenbosch by a single goal, while RS Berkane were 4-0 better than Constantine. Let's take a look at the Champions League in Africa. First leg semi-final games were also played, and it was a goalless affair in the Champions League here in Africa. But then the return leg will be played next weekend, where the finalists will eventually emerge. Let's quickly take a look at other sports this morning before we move. Taking a look at updates coming from the world of tennis this morning. The Barcelona Open, yes, it's a clear-cut event. And yesterday, Holger Rune defeated, the big man himself, Carlos Alcaraz, 7-6, 6-2 to emerge victorious at the Barcelona Open. And also at the Munich Open final yesterday as well, Alexander Zverev, anyways, expectedly got the better of Ben Shelton, 6-2, 6-4 to come out victorious right there. Well, from there, let's quickly take a look at what we saw in the world of Formula 1 at the weekend, where Oscar Piastri, has now won his third race of the season, following his victorious outing at the weekend at the Saudi Grand Prix. Yes, it was indeed a very good one for him. It was fastest, of course, ahead of Max Verstappen and Charles Leclerc. And taking a look at what the driver standings look like at the moment, Piastri top with 99 points, followed by Lando Norris with 89 points, and Max Verstappen with 87 points. That's what the driver standings look like at the moment. What you're currently looking at is the final standings at the Saudi Grand Prix. Before I leave this morning, let's take a look at what we saw in Europe yesterday, especially in the Premier League. Of course, as expected, the Premier League served a lot of interesting results and implications as well. Because of my time, I won't be able to go through all of the results, but then let's take a look at its implication on the table. Liverpool, of course, did just enough to move closer to their 20th Premier League title. That won't come as a good news for fans of United anyways. Yes, it was a good victory for them. 79 points is what they have at this point. Arsenal, 66 points. And Liverpool can actually win the title on Wednesday should Crystal Palace defeat Arsenal Football Club. Yes, very possible. And can we just say congratulations in advance to Liverpool Football Club at this moment? Yes, it is what it is. United, well, they continue their major setback this season. It was a loss for them against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Let's take a look at what the bottom of the table looks like. Leicester City, they are absolutely relegated, confirmed relegated at this point, following their 1-0 loss to Liverpool at the weekend. So 2 teams already confirmed relegated from the Premier League already. Southampton first, and now Leicester City. And it looks like Ipswich Town will follow suit. Now, this will be the 2nd consecutive season that the newly promoted teams got relegated instantly. That is exactly the situation we have in our hands at this moment. Now, because of our time, we're able to go through the Spanish La Liga, Serie A, Bundesliga, and of course the League One. We'll be back later in the day to take you through all of that and many more. Now back to Ebi and Samson for the concluding part of Daybreak Live this morning.
All right, that was fantastic. Daybreak was coming from Boluwaji Ogunbola this morning. Most, part of the weekend was that of Leicester City confirmed relegation. That's really, really sad one. And Nigerian international Wilfred Ndidi in that team. I think if he goes with them this time, will be the 2nd time he got relegated with Leicester City. And then there are chances he might actually leave that team for a different team. And let's see what happens there. But then the talking point this morning was Shooting Stars losing the Southwest Derby to Remo Start at home with no fans, actually. 1-0 it's ended. Probably they could have done something better and get a result from that game. That pushes Remo Stars even further to claim the league title for the first time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, it was a very good one for Remo Stars. Of course, knowing that they were playing without the fans yesterday, Remo Stars knew they were at advantage. And that was what Ogumorede said after the game yesterday. Though he gave his respect to Shooting Stars, but then they knew that without the fans, Shooting Stars would struggle, going by what we've seen in the last couple of weeks. And what we saw exactly yesterday, it wasn't a good one for Shooting Stars. Fans are not happy, and it looks as if, I mean, look at its implication on the table. Just 1 home loss, and you're 8 already. No continental ticket anymore. That's what it means for the team. But then it's football. You have to return to the drawing board, and something drastic needs to be done at this point.
And they have to come back again stronger next season.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you for joining us this morning, Boluwaji.
Oh, thank you, Samson.
Good to have you.
Thank you very much.
All right, the show has been Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. Yes, it is time we say our BYE on today's show. Abby, we have to go.
Sadly, we have to go.
Well, in the spirit of the season, we say you have to learn how to love. And when you love effortlessly. Oh. And the spirit of giving really has to be there. Oh, Samson Balogun is my name. Until tomorrow, we shall be meeting again on another fresh edition of Daybreak Live on Dominion Television. Don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Dominion Broadcast. On Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok, it is at Dominion Broadcast. And on X, it is at Dominion Cast. See you again tomorrow. Samson Balogun is my name.
All right, my name is Abby Dickinson. Thank you for watching. Thank you for staying tuned. And like Samson said, love effortlessly. And so I say I love you, our wonderful listeners, and our wonderful people watching us online at this point. Well, tomorrow is another day by the grace of God, and Samson will be here again to make your day break worth it. My name is Abby Dickinson. God bless Nigeria.